I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Oh my goodness.
God.
I know.
It's been so long.
Why? I know.
Well, we know why.
Yeah, we know why.
Yeah, we were like cycling through cycles of illness.
Yes, I know why. I know the like technical why. It was
Right.
it was more of a like why?
Yes, that I can't help you with.
No, I know.
At all.
It's like crazy.
It has been crazy. This year, I want to submit 2025
Yeah.
for the worst year ever.
And
it's March.
Awful. It's awful.
It's been so awful.
Awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like things, and then we've been sick.
I don't know what's happening. I really don't even. I've never been at more of a loss.
No, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And we're here, and we're happy to be here.
Yes.
We're also like, what do we do? How do we do this?
Do we even know what to?
We don't. We forgot.
I know.
I know. It's sad.
See, this is, witchery is a lifetime thing. Yes. I have no vocabulary. I have no vocabulary anymore. I am inarticulate.
Eloquence.
It's gone. It's gone. It eroded my brain.
It'll come back. Don't worry. Because we're back.
See, if we just start saying things like that, then... And we always match the energy of the things that we're talking about.
That's true.
So if anything, like by the end of this, we'll probably feel pretty good.
So it's a good thing today that we have such an energetic topic.
Yes,
so.
it is. It is a good thing.
Don't we do a card pull?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
that's why
cool.
That's why I have them.
Okay.
Over here. I'm pretty sure.
Cool, let's do it.
I'm pretty sure I remembered to do that. That's pretty amazing. Pretty proud of myself for
See?
For that. I brought the passages.
Yes. Love.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, maybe I hope there's some kind of hidden passage. I would love a hidden passage right now.
Yeah. Like on Super Mario where you like go in the little tunnel.
Yes.
And then you wind up in another and you could skip all the crap.
Yeah. And it's like da 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 da. I think that's what it is.
No, that's in the castle. That's
Oh,
the one
shit.
for that
That's the
castle.
wrong thing.
Yeah.
Nope, that's the water.
Yeah, no. It was just like
Whatever.
That one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it would make that little noise when it went down.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's do a card pull.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mario Brothers. I didn't have that on my 2025 bingo card to be talking about on Dumb Witch Club.
Well, there you go.
There you go. We did it. Okay.
Let's do it. Okay. Pause.
All right.
Pause.
Okay.
It's got a nice little chair, little cushioned, kind of pink, cushy chair.
I like the chair.
Pause.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
Okay.
Take a pause.
All right.
I feel like that's what we've been doing.
I literally do. I was like not trying to be negative, so I really wasn't jumping in to be like, okay. But now that you're saying it, I'm like, okay, like pause.
Yeah, I'm like, where's my mark? I'm gonna write unpause.
Like,
we had paused Dumb Witch Club for so long, and now we're unpaused.
like maybe what it is like all the energy. Like, if you haven't watched the March Energy Report, watch the March Energy Report.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's more like, okay, you need a pause from all that because that's been crazy, which has forced us to pause with the stuff we've wanted to do, including Dumb Witch Club, but there's other things, and we haven't been able to. And
okay,
maybe this isn't instructive. Maybe this is just like, yeah, you've been in like a pause.
that's true. Sometimes your card pull is just observational.
Yeah, or just
Like obvious.
Yeah, and maybe because we're complaining so much, it's like, look, you're just in a pause. It's not forever. It's just a pause button. It's not a stop button. It's just pause.
Oh, but see, this is also, though, this pause to talk about pause is reminding me that it's the spring equinox.
See?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So even more so, maybe it's like, okay, just pause and reflect on, because maybe we're barreling forward with like, this year sucks and everything sucks. So it's like, okay, just pause for a second. reevaluate.
Also, I've been talking about the calendar new year of 2025.
Yeah, so
Today
it was like
is the astrological new year.
yeah. So they were like, "Oh, my girl, slow your roll."
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yes,
that was like a bitch slap from the universe and or spirit being like, "Okay, don't like shit talk so much."
Sorry. Okay. Jeez.
Sorry. We will pause on that
Yeah.
for now and resume later.
So, what is our topic for today?
Fire signs.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fire signs.
We thought we would kind of get back to the basics of astrology, which we have covered, but like a long, long time ago. And kind of doing it in this way of like just revisiting, like, again, like some of the basics, like fire signs. We're going to do all of the signs or all the elements.
Yeah, all the elements.
And all the signs included in each element. So, yeah, this is where we're starting.
I like it because we've been getting a lot of like questions around the basics recently.
I think people, including myself, like
Yeah.
always want a review of the basics.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot. And
There's a
sometimes
lot.
you forget.
Yeah.
Or you just want a refresher. Or sometimes it's good to listen and just be like, oh, yeah,
Oh.
I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Or like we can't possibly say everything on the subject every time, and so
No.
it's like, okay, we come up with like different things. I don't know, but yes, this is what we're doing, and I think it's exciting and cute.
I think it's cute too. And so, yeah, just to sort of get into it and explain a little bit of the entire zodiac, there's 4 elements that are represented. Fire, air, water, earth.
Yeah.
And because it's 12 signs divided by those 4, there's 3 signs under each of the 4 elements.
Yes.
And they all have that in common. It's a common thread. through the
Common
3.
thread amongst them.
Yes.
Yes. Which is cool and manifests itself differently. And I think that that's cool that we're talking about this as a collective because we've talked about the individual signs. We've talked about different placements of them. We've talked a little bit about how they look different from each other whenever we've been on our like new sign Hoodis episodes. Like we have sort of compared and contrasted. Not a whole lot, but we have a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is cool to talk about it as a collective because, yes, it's the common thing.
Yes. So, what are the fire signs?
Well, we begin with Aries, and it's about to be Aries season coming here pretty soonish.
Yeah, I think it's like
Today or
today.
tomorrow, yeah. Mhm. And then Leo comes after that.
Yes.
And then Sagittarius rounds out the fire sign thrupplet.
Right. Yes. It's a thrupplet.
It's a thrupplet. I just made that up and I like it.
Yeah. So I know I don't want to do too much compare and contrast with the other elements.
Yeah,
today,
no.
Because we're just covering fire signs. And as a triple, like quadruple fire sign, if you count my Mercury, I really just want to focus on that today.
Shocking.
Yeah, imagine. So one of the traits that you may see in common amongst fire signs is this sort of like wanting to be noticed, being okay with being the center of attention, that kind of thing. I don't know.
Totally being okay with it.
Yeah,
being
like-
more than okay with it.
I mean, I guess.
I love it. You're not the only one with fire energy in your chart.
Well, that's true. That's true. But I don't
You
have
have
a lot else at times.
You definitely
So-
have the most. You have the most out of anyone I've ever known.
Yeah, no, it really is kind of a lot, actually. And I don't
Yeah.
have any Sagittarius, though. Mine is all Leo, and obviously my rising sign being Aries in, so it's,
That's basically it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And mine is all Sagittarius.
Right. The what you do have is. Yeah. Which stands to reason because like we've talked about before, when you're born, whatever sun sign you're under, you're more likely to have things in adjacent signs. So even if your sun sign is not a fire sign, you could easily have, Mars and Venus in particular that are in an adjoining fire sign if there is one.
Exactly. Which is, we have discussions about that when we talk about cusps and things like that, which you can look all of that up too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think it is important to kind of think about what what is the common thread of fire? Like, how do you see that across these three signs? Yeah. So one of the things I already just said, like kind of this comfortability with being the center of attention or being noticed.
Yeah.
I think that's common amongst Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The way that can show up is a little different with each of the three.
Absolutely.
Because there are different energies contributing to those signs besides just the element of fire.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yes, that confidence, that willingness to be kind of bold and out there, the passion, the courage, just like think of the energy of fire as an element and what that makes you feel and what it does, right? Like what it does to the earth, what it contributes to. That quality is present in the personalities of people with fire placements.
Yes, and just taking like, because the symbolism is meant to be symbolic from the literal fire.
Exactly.
It is there to provide warmth, to provide like light or brightness, particularly in the dark.
Yes.
If you think about in the universe, like obviously every star is the same, but the sun in terms of the earth, like is the reason why we have so much life on earth.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, that's really kind of that like pervasive fire energy.
It's a beautiful, I'm glad we're like explaining it like this, because a lot of times when I see sort of basic explanations of fire energy, and there's no shade to creators that are doing this or anything. It's all necessary and has its space here, and we've done it before too. But there's kind of a focus on sort of like the destructive nature of fire to an extent, and sort of like the I don't know how to put this, but like the awe-inspiring kind of vastness of what fire is, the consuming quality, I think, of what fire is, which is part of it, and that's definitely something we'll probably touch on. But it's also everything that you just talked about too, which is not necessarily talking about being like burned.
Right.
Scorched.
Right.
I don't know. That kind of thing. It's warmth. It's brightness. It's light. It's the sun.
Yeah.
It's these beautiful, necessary, gorgeous things as well. Fascinating things. I mean, and people love to just sort of watch fire. It's so entrancing. And you can do spell work with fire and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important to point those things out. I don't really see a lot of people focusing on that.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying, I think, is a reflection of how astrology can be used in a sensational way where we're really highlighting the negatives or the drama. And if you want to talk about the negatives or the drama, I mean, drama is the right word for the fire signs, right? Like, every energy is neutral. And there are skillful and unskillful or evolved and unevolved presentations of that. Yeah. And so, we can see like this tendency towards being overly dramatic that kind of can run through that fire energy. But there is more to it, obviously, as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think, there's an emphasis on that dramatic interpretation, I think, with all of the elements, like people lean into them, but particularly with fire because of the very nature of what fire is. Even though the other ones can have like destructive qualities, it's not as dramatic and loud and sort of out there and right. So there's a focus on that. But.
Yes, and it's like the double-edged sword of if you draw attention to yourself, that could be positive or negative. If you're trying to draw attention to yourself, you may be doing that through positive means or through negative means.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
So, as so much fire energy, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
That is something that fire signs need to learn how to do.
Yeah.
You don't want to just wait till other people tell you, because by then sometimes it's too late.
Yeah, and sometimes people are going to be afraid to tell you.
Yes, and you know what? To be very personal, people are always afraid to tell me, and it's funny because in my life, my job, people tell me things for a living. Yeah. But people in my life
Yeah.
They don't want to tell me anything.
They don't
They don't want to disappoint me.
No, they don't want
And
to.
it's not, yes, sometimes fire signs can also have a reputation of having like a really fiery temper. I don't think I have that personally.
Not at all.
But there's this sense of like not wanting to disappoint me.
Yeah.
And I think that's reflective of that fire energy of like not wanting to like dim the light or believing that someone's light is so bright that like, I don't know, they don't compare to you. And I don't think anything like that about people.
No, I don't think most fire signs do.
No, but I think there's like some kind of impression sometimes.
Yes.
From others.
Yes, it's intimidating. There's an intimidation factor. People, it's not common to feel like comfortable just being out there and like being the center of attention. I mean, most people don't like that.
Yes, and I think that is maybe why fire signs can arouse some kind of like intimidation or even like jealousy, because there is an effortlessness of self-centeredness.
Yeah.
And I don't mean self-centered in a negative way. Mm-hmm. I mean just the ability to be out there, be yourself, be independent, and just kind of show up and be who you are. That's not hard for a fire sign to do.
No.
Which is not to say they never struggle with anything either.
No.
Of course. There are plenty of times, again, speaking personally, where I did things that I didn't want to do, sometimes for a long, long time, but I paid a price for that and eventually changed those situations.
Exactly.
Because it was like, and it was stifling for anyone, but it was very stifling for me because I think my life's journey as a fire sign is to become fully in my identity.
Yeah.
Because fire is related to identity.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think I think fire signs, I think one of the really common struggles with fire signs is kind of navigating over that. Like, what is really my identity? Like, who am I really, really deep inside? And what am I broadcasting out for everyone to see? And do I really care to be authentically broadcasting out for everyone to see? Yeah. Or is life a show and I don't really care and I'm just going to do this, but then everything else is in here? There's so many. It's much, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's much more complex than it would appear to be on the surface.
Yes, and I think as we always remind ourselves and others, like a lot of this is going to have to do with what other influences are in someone's chart.
Absolutely.
You know, if you have like a lot of fire, that's going to be one way. If you have one fire placement with a lot of water or other placements, like these things are going to kind of bend different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly someone with a concentration of an element is going to show up as that element. There's no mistaking it with Jackie. Like there just isn't. Like there just isn't. It's who she is. It's so much of what makes her her that
and I don't even like notice what it is.
No.
Because it's just there.
And it's intimidating to people because they don't have that. It's unusual to have as many fire placements as you do. It's unusual to have any concentration of placements as you do.
That's true.
So most people would be intimidated by any type of concentration of anything.
I think that is true.
But particularly this, because it just feels like, oh, well, I've heard this out of people's mouths, like, oh, well, she's got it all together. Like, why would, like, she would not get there. Like, she would not understand this, or like, I can't say that to her because like, she, which is just wild because it's like you said, it's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
And once people can sort of let that down, like let those guards or sort of confront that within themselves, I think they realize that about you. And then it's like, oh, never mind. Like, that's not really what's there. This is just her presence, but like there's more there.
Yes.
And that you're not just that for you. You want everyone to be that.
That is also true.
You want everyone to be their truest, most authentic, whatever that is.
Yes.
Out there, like on the stage, spotlight. There's plenty of spotlights for everybody. It doesn't just have to be me. Yes, and I think that's another misconception about fire signs.
Yes.
Is that they want to be the center of attention and that they think that they're the only ones that deserve that. I don't have that experience.
I don't think that is true. And I think that's, obviously somebody somewhere probably is like that, right?
Sure.
But, I think that is a misconception.
Yes, it is. And to your earlier point, it could be like a unevolved sort of presentation.
Right.
Because you can be like that. If you are a fire sign, especially like a heavily concentrated one, and you are not a very evolved person, then maybe you do think the spotlight only belongs to you and your opinion is the only one that matters and you don't care about other people.
Totally.
And you may not even notice that's happening because you probably don't care.
Right. Yes. I mean, obviously, there are, like, so many different versions of people out there.
I know.
You know?
So many.
I think also, so we're talking obviously about generally fire energy, fire signs, but let's maybe break down the individual ones just a little bit.
I like it.
They are different.
They are.
In different ways, for different reasons. So starting with Aries, and the reason we started with fire signs and starting with Aries is just because of the zodiac. Yeah. Like, it's the first sign of the zodiac. You know, it only makes sense to do that.
Sure.
So what I was seeing, like, the different influences coming in, obviously, are, like, cardinal, fixed, and mutable.
Right.
So each of these three, Aries is a cardinal sign.
Yeah.
Leo's fixed sign. Sagittarius is mutable. So this is one of the ways that the fire energy gets kind of bent in different directions.
Yes. And if you're confused about what those are, we have an episode or a 2 or something on the modalities. That's what that's called, is the modalities. And so you can just like quickly sort of search this, you know, like cardinal, fixed, mutable. It'll really give you an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, just to say, it's also not super complicated.
No, it's really not. It's not.
The cardinal energy is kind of like the initiating kind of spark of energy. So that's what Aries. And then when you think of that fire, it's like this initiating kind of passion, identity kind of energy.
Yes.
It's like a very like starting things.
Yeah, it's very like intrinsic. Like they just know.
Yes.
It's a pioneering sort of spirit. Like they just know, they do. It's
Don't think too much about it.
Don't think too much. Yeah, there's really not a lot of thought. It's just like, yep, this is.
Yeah.
I don't have to think through this. I got this. I know. I know about myself. You're telling me. I already know.
Yeah. And there's also this, along with that though, it's like, oh yeah, I was wrong about that. Oh well, changed my mind.
Oh well, sounds good.
Moving on.
Can't be perfect.
There's, just like none of it matters, but like in a really like kind of positive way.
Yeah.
Like, no big deal. Just keep moving on.
Yes. In a childlike way. Like, I'm learning.
Innocent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm just learning. I'm just a human. And I guess I got that wrong. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Guess I'll do this instead next time. Oh well.
Yeah. No regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
So Leo is a fixed fire energy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's different. It's really different.
Yes.
It's, and I think, I mean, you're the Leo, but.
You can say. I want you to say.
There is such a difference there. Like, even just in explaining those things, like the cardinal, that forward, that bold, that this, right? And then Leo comes along and it's this fixed, arrived at a spot.
Yes.
Staying in that space. Not like I'm just going to do this and not grow or anything. It's not like that, but it's just like such a confident place in a fire sign. Like, so full of like character and their own dynamicism, and they know what their strengths are and what they're good at, and maybe aren't as like forwardly bold like an Aries to like, oh, I'm just gonna try anything and I'm just gonna kind of do. Leos, they're gonna do the things they know that they can do, and that they like they're not gonna do, and then just be like, oh, never mind. No, that's not.
I can't tell you how many times somebody has said something to me along the lines of like, oh, like you're good at so many things. And I'm like, I only do things that I'm good at. Exactly. So that's why I'm not fixing your car. Like,
yep, that's the show, right? Yeah. It's like I'm showing you the things that I'm good at. Yeah, it's so true.
Yes.
And I think that there's like a development by the time we get to that sign, and that, all the signs, but by the time we get to that next iteration of a fire sign, is that I think when I think of Aries, I think very much of like top of mind, very brain, very, very spontaneous and sort of like driven by that impulsivity.
Yes. And there is this, like, you're kind of shaking your hands, like there is this kind of restless need to like get
try
something
going.
I don't
care.
Started,
maybe it won't work. Let's just, who cares? And like that.
And that's that Mars connection with Aries.
Yes. Whereas Leo
Yeah.
It completely goes down into the heart by the time you get to Leo. It is not impulsive anymore. Mm-hmm. There is no impulsivity to the way that Leos behave. And that's that sun energy. It's this warmth and this heart, this intuition. Leos act out of that. And it may look a certain way on the surface because you're not seeing the process behind it. That's true for anything and anybody.
Right.
You're not seeing the process behind it. All you're seeing now is whatever they're presenting on that stage or whatever. But there's a lot back there, and it is very heart driven. If something doesn't feel like right to a Leo, like doesn't sit right with their heart in terms of themselves, others, what they think should be happening, they're not going to participate or do it.
Yes, and by the same token, they might do things that someone else might look at and not agree with.
Yeah.
But the Leo's like, I have thought this through, and you may not agree with this, but this is what my, heart is telling me, and I have also thought about it.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bravery in all the fire signs, but there's a bravery in that. Because it's something you can't really explain.
Right.
Also, they don't really give a shit to explain it, but...
Right, that too.
But they kind of can't. You can't. Aries can kind of. I thought this, and so I did it. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Leo's, it's a whole other kind of vibe. And so that's brave to act out of that. And
it's true.
Just do it anyway, or take a chance or whatever. But it's because they know in their heart that it's the right thing.
Yes, I think you're right. And moving into Sagittarius though.
Yeah.
We see another evolution of this fire energy.
Yeah.
Where it's almost a little, it has, because it's that mutable fire.
Yeah.
Which has the propensity, at least, when I think about it, to be more extreme almost.
Yeah.
In one way or another. They might be very small fire energy at a time.
Absolutely.
But then they'll become huge fire energy at some other time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of more, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's a little more erratic. It's harder to pinpoint.
Yeah, it is. Because, especially compared to fixed is fixed, right? And cardinal is just, it's going. It's constantly sort of going. Mutable energy is a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it's unpredictable for everybody. It's also unpredictable for the person. Because you just...
Yes.
It's... Yeah, and I think sometimes people think it's not genuine. Because how could it be? But it can be. And I think with Sagittarius, it ruled by Jupiter, it's that expansive thinking.
Right.
Sagittarians are constantly... almost to a point of maddening evaluating and looking at and philosophizing about things, thinking about their life and everybody's life and the state of the world. It's such a thing. It's yikes. Yeah. It's amazing. And I think one thing not talked about a lot with Sagittarians is the optimism of a Sagittarius.
Yes, absolutely.
Sagittarians, as a fire sign, they might be blunt, they might be bold, they might piss you off. They probably do. They probably have. But there's this humor and this optimism to them that is infectious. It always makes me think of this. I saw this somewhere, this quote from Harry Potter where Dumbledore says something about in the darkest of times you can get through or something. I'm going to butcher that, but you can get through it or whatever if one remembers only to turn on the light. And that reminds me of Sagittarius nature so much.
Yeah, and it's you're starting to also remind me Sagittarius is a transpersonal sign.
Yeah.
Whereas Aries is a personal sign and Leo's an interpersonal sign.
Yes.
So you really do start to see once you get to that Sagittarian kind of place in the wheel and being that third fire sign, just kind of this, and the Jupiter influence obviously too, just kind of this expansive, but still this optimism is the fire. It's the light of the fire. Yeah. That light is on even in the darkness.
Yes. And that they long to seek that out wherever they can and will keep going in times where you're like, I can't believe you're still doing this. And they will do it, and they'll do it for other people, and they'll help other people see that and like really give them and share that light. And it's something really special about that sign for sure.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think it really also just comes back again to that mutable quality of like, at other times though, they're going to be overbearing and they're going to be obnoxious. And you're going to be like, okay, can you just shut up about this stuff that like is so cool and you're obviously so passionate about, but like, can you please not, but then you have these other times where they're going to be like so reflective and so wise, and they're going to be like, this little light of mine, like, and this is like, so if you know someone who's like this and they're kind of like changeable, they might be a Sagittarius even if you don't know.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I think it's hard to identify a Sagittarius as well.
Yeah, it can
It's really easy, I feel like, to identify a Leo once you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Also, they'll usually tell you right away that they're a Leo. It's pretty easy to identify an Aries as well.
Yeah.
Sagittarius, I feel like it's just harder to nail them down.
It is.
And they don't want to be nailed down because they want to be independent and they want to be...
It's the opposite of what they want.
Yes.
I know. You'll know... If it's someone who is life of the party and makes a joke out of everything, that's probably a pretty good indicator where you're like, okay, not everything is funny.
Yeah. But to them it is. At least at the moment.
Until it isn't. And then it's like, okay.
And then it's like, I'm serious, you guys. And you're like, shit.
You're like, I really just don't know what's happening. And they're like, I don't either.
Yeah.
Like, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, but it's good energy.
It is. And it's so necessary. Like, all of these different iterations of this fire and the way that it's filtered through is all so necessary.
It is. And I think almost everybody has at least one placement from every element in their chart. Just odds are, right? So even if you're heavily one thing... you're going to have other influences too. So wherever you may have fire energy in your chart, whether that's in your kind of like big three, like front placements, or just anywhere else, look to that place. Look where that planet is in what house in your chart.
Yeah.
Like look where, that house placement is too. And just kind of see, like, is there something there that maybe you didn't notice or that you can like turn the light up on a little more.
Yeah, I love it. Like, embracing that fire energy in your chart. I mean, obviously, like, I don't want to say, like, you've embraced it. That sounds like, oh, you're just good and you're fine. Okay.
No, but
you have.
I agree.
Yeah, because it's so present and it's so obvious, and it shows up even just if you are barely getting into astrology and just know your sun sign, you would already know. And then even just your big three, you already know. I mean, it's just so obvious is my point. Like with you, it's so present and it's so forward and everything like that. But that also, I think the advice applies to you too in that way. Like the converse of that is like how to embrace that, because I think that's where people struggle sometimes, where maybe in places that they're not really comfortable with that energy, it can be hard for them to embrace. But also if you have like a saturation of that energy, it can be like, okay, well, there might be a tendency, I guess is what I'm saying, of maybe trying to like tone it down.
No, absolutely. And just, I think because if there is a saturation of the same energy, in this case, we're talking about fire, there can be almost a lack of understanding of what you're putting off or what people are seeing, because it's all so congruent and lined up.
Yes.
That it's like, oh, like you don't understand that you might be coming off some way to people because you're just like being so natural to who you are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not that you're not being self-reflective. You can't understand because you're just being so authentic that it's like, oh, you see that way?
Yeah.
So that can be really hard.
And then I think also like on the same kind of like coming around the other side to that same notion of like, you could really think, oh, God, I do need to tone it down. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Totally.
And then you kind of get a weird self-doubt about it, which is really the antithesis of what fire wants you to be. Mm-hmm. So in terms of this in particular, it can be a little confusing as you're growing up when you don't know all of this. Mm-hmm. and you're kind of like interacting with people or your family or getting feedback from, I don't know, like friends or boyfriends or girlfriends or like people you're dating, and where you're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, I guess I shouldn't be like that. And then you're like,
wait,
no, I should be.
Wait. Yeah. Yes. And I think that's where that balance comes in. And I think that's important for fire signs, wherever it exists in your chart and wherever you're sort of trying to like delve into it or pull it into focus or whatever, is that, balance is really key with all three of these.
Yes.
Because it can quickly skew.
Yep.
It's easy for it to do it. And so I think, just finding that balance. And there's a lot of energy behind fire sign energy. So
it can be a lot.
It can be a lot for you. Burnout is something that can also happen to you.
Yeah.
You can burn that candle on both ends, and then you're like, why am I just like continuously pouring this energy into these things that are not serving me, or they're making me mad, or people are misunderstanding me, and I'm trying to prove myself, and why am I doing this, and no one gets me, and whatever. And that's a real thing with fire signs. So I think that balance is really, really important for this element.
Yeah, no, I do think that's true. And like you were saying earlier, like kind of the all-consuming nature of fire, you know, it's kind of hard to, it doesn't always offer balance easily.
True.
Yeah. But there's always good, there's always challenges, and there's, I don't know, I like talking about this.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think fire energy gets hated on too much.
No.
For Leo men, but that's deserved.
Yeah, it is. Sorry. Sorry. No, I mean, the most I see is people just being like, oh, they think they're, I mean, they do, but they are a lot of times.
Yeah.
So.
But it's also like, again, like this energy is not, it's neutral. It's either people make it good or bad because of how they act. So
and I think it's just definitely one of those. It just happens to be one of these energies that is going to butt up against a lot of like strongly held traditional cultural norms and values.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So this is where people are going to get pissed.
That's a good point. Because
it's in your face. And you're not supposed to be like that if you're a good person or a sweet person or a femme. Yeah. You're not supposed to be like that.
To be assertive or to know who you are and insist on being that.
Or to acknowledge that you're pretty or that you're talented.
Yeah.
Or that you are good at something.
Totally.
You're not, why would you, you're not supposed to do that.
Yes.
So we're going to be mad at you because if you do that, then you're telling me I'm not as good as you.
But that's not what you're saying.
And it's not. It's not.
And you absolutely should be you all the time.
You should. And if you align yourself with someone who has a lot of fire energy, again, I have some, but if you align yourself with someone who has a lot, that is what they bring to you. I get that it can be intimidating. I was never intimidated. I'm not going to lie, and act like, oh, well, I was, and then I got over that, and then no, I never was.
But why would you be?
I didn't need to be. That was crazy. Like, why would I be? I've never struggled.
Know why anybody would.
I've never struggled with that kind of thing, though. So it's just not.
But that's because you have a Sagittarius moon.
Exactly.
So you'd
I'm like,
care.
Yeah, this is cool. I love this. I'm vibing. Like, this is awesome. Yeah, whatever. But if you are intimidated, and I can see, I guess, why, get over that. Get over that. Like, you can learn a lot from all of these elements. Teach us things, and you can learn, and especially if you don't have much of any. Yeah. You need it then.
That is true.
You need it.
That is true.
You should have it in close alignment.
Yes. And you can't manufacture it in your own chart if it's not there.
No.
But you can find a counterpart to help bring some of that to you. Yes. I think that is really valid.
Yeah. And that a fire sign in particular who's evolved and knows themselves and all of that will very much bring that out of you. And will elevate you and help you to see that.
Yes, and we will love doing it.
Yeah, they do, genuinely.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Yeah. No one is prouder of you. No one is a bigger hype person than a fire sign who sees something in you or loves you, cares about you.
Yes.
I mean, no one is a bigger hype person.
It's totally true.
They're the ones with the signs at the airport, like,
Yeah.
right? They're the
Yes.
ones, like, putting stuff all over social media where people are like,
Yeah.
they don't care. Like, they're gonna show out and demonstrate that. And it's such a nice, because does everything have to be that way? Of course it doesn't. But it is nice sometimes when it is.
Yes, some things can be that way.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know, you're absolutely right. And no, it's just good, good reminders. We all need to find balance, but sometimes things can be wild, and that's okay too.
I feel like I'm just like fangirling about. You're like, yes, this is all true, and I'm just like, and this, and this.
But it's also
whatever.
reminded me of like a quote from like one of my favorite shows, Titus Andromedon on Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, yes.
He's like, they've just met each other.
Yeah.
And Titus is like, I'm so envious. I've always wanted to meet me.
Yes. Oh my God.
Like, yes, talk about me. I don't know what it's like to know me.
Oh my God. I love it. And that is so accurate for his character and just that.
I know.
Oh my
and it's
God.
just the most fire sign shit.
It really is. I mean, Titus, overall. Like,
yes. I mean, I love doing charts for fictional people. So,
that is such a good example.
yeah, it really is. So,
Yes, that's so perfect. And Oliver Putnam.
Yes.
Being your Leo. He such a Leo.
yes.
We agree. I mean, that was like the
100%.
quickest thing we agreed. We were like, yes.
Yeah.
Oliver, Leo, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's very fun. Very fun. All right. I think that's probably all I have
Yeah.
to say at the moment.
Yeah.
And this was a lovely discussion.
It was.
It feels so good to be back.
It really does. And this did
Doesn't it?
invigorate. Yeah, it does. It did invigorate. It does feel good to be back. I feel like this was the right timing. This
Yeah.
was the right episode to really like get back to it with.
Yes. And we'll be back next week with our April energy report. And we
Yes.
will go on from here. So until then,
Stay witchy, friends.
and stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and hosted by us, Ashley Sidner.
And Jackie Gerard at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Art direction by Violet Turner. Culture consultant Jane Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. Look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok and Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.